Go down into your kitchen tonight after the lights are off and wait. Give it 10 minutes. Then flip the switch. If you have ever seen them scatter, the roaches running for the baseboard, the ants in a thin black thread along the wall, the silverfish curling away from the light, then you already know the feeling I am talking about. It is not disgust. It is something worse. It is helplessness because you have sprayed. You have paid the man in the white truck $90 a visit. You have set the traps and read the labels, and still they came back. They always come back. Now let me tell you about two metals. Two. You can hold both of them in one hand. Together they cost less than $5, and between them there is not a crawling thing on this earth they cannot stop. One of them kills from the inside, carried home by the very bugs you were afraid of. The other one builds a wall they will not cross, and it stands for 30 years without being bought again. The Amish have used both of these for over 100 years, and in all that time, my family has not paid $1 to an exterminator. Not one. And before this video is over, I am going to show you the year the first one was finally written down into the federal record, 1948. And I am going to show you the papers, the patents with real numbers on them, that prove the men who sell you the spray have known about these two metals the whole time. They simply made sure you never put the two of them together. Stay with me. After my last video, a great many of you wrote to me. You said, Amos, the powders and the jars are good, but it is the bugs that break a person down. A woman wrote that she had not felt easy in her own kitchen in a year. A man about my age told me he was ashamed to have his grandchildren stay the night. So I went back out to the workshop, to the shelf my grandfather kept, the one I have hardly touched since he passed on. And there they were. Two old tins, the labels worn near to nothing. I am going to tell you exactly what was in them. And I am going to tell you the part. The spray companies have spent 60 years making sure you would never quite put together. The first metal is boron. Now you will not buy it as a bar of metal. You will buy it as a plain white powder, the same powder your great-grandmother very likely kept under her own sink. Borax, boric acid, $1, maybe $2, for a box that will last you a year. And here is the first number I promised you, 1948. That is the year boric acid was first written into the federal record as an insecticide in this country. But understand, that is only the year a government finally wrote it down. The Persians were grinding this same powder for this same purpose, long before anyone thought to keep a record of it at all. Now think about how it actually works, because this is the part that turns a kitchen rumor into plain physics. A roach, an ant, a beetle, picture him as a little knight in armor. The outside of him is a hard shell, and over that shell is a thin coat of wax, and that wax is the one thing holding the water inside his body. He is, when you come down to it, a small barrel of water walking around in a waxed coat. Take the wax, and you take his life. The boron powder does two things to him at the very same time. First, the grains are sharp, far sharper than they look to your eye, and as he crawls through even a thin film of it, they scrape that waxy coat right off his belly and his legs. The water begins to leave him. He starts to dry out slowly from the outside in. That alone would be the end of him, but there is a second blow. A bug is a clean animal, cleaner than most people would ever believe, and he grooms himself constantly, drawing his legs and his feelers through his mouth to clean the dust off. And so he eats it. He swallows the very powder that is drying him out. And once it is inside him, the boron goes to work on the way his body turns food into energy. It shuts the furnace down. So now he is drying out and he is starving both at once, from the outside and the inside together. That is not a spray that fouls the air for an hour and then fades by supper. That is a slow, certain end that he carries home on his own back. And that the carrying home is the whole secret of it. Hold on to that, because it is the thing the man in the white truck does not want you to understand. When that man sprays, he kills what he can see. But the 100 bugs you see are nothing. They are the scouts, the foragers, the few sent out from the nest. The 4,000 you do not see, the nest itself, the queen, the young, they sit safe and dry inside your wall, and the spray never so much as touches them. You have knocked the leaves off a weed and left the root in the ground. In 2 weeks it is back and you reach again for the phone. The boron works the other way around, and it works on purpose. It is slow by design. The ant that walks through it does not drop dead at your feet. He carries it down into the colony, into the dark, and he feeds it mouth to the others, and they feed it to the queen. By the time anything begins to die, the powder has already traveled everywhere the colony travels. You did not kill 100 ants that afternoon. You killed the whole house, root and all, from the inside, for about $1. And this is old knowledge. The borax itself came up out of the ground in Death Valley, in California, hauled across the desert by teams of 20 mules between 1883 and 1889. 20 million pounds of it, dragged out by animals because there was no other way to move it. They put a picture of those 20 mules right on the box, and that same box with that same picture still sits on store shelves today for almost nothing. The Amish did not invent any of this. We simply never stopped using it after the rest of the country was talked into something that cost more. Now the second metal. Because the boron clears out what is already living inside your walls, but a wise man does not only fight the bugs in his kitchen. He stops them out at the wall before they ever get in. And for that, the Amish have always reached for copper. Copper is a strange and ancient thing. It is poison to small life in a way that plain iron simply is not. It does not sit there quiet, it reacts, it oxidizes, and when a soft-bodied creature touches it, the copper turns the creature's own insides against it. A slug or a snail that tries to cross a strip of copper completes a tiny circuit with the slime on its own belly, and it gets a small electric shock for the trouble, not enough to harm you or me in the least, but enough that the creature turns back every single time. A band of copper just 3 inches wide, laid around a garden bed, around a doorway, around the legs of a grain bin, is a wall that does not rot, does not wash away in the rain, and never has to be bought a second time. And copper does one more thing, a thing the lumber yard knows full well and does not say out loud. Drive copper into a fence post or brush a copper wash onto bare wood before it goes into the ground, and the termites and the wood borers will not eat it. They cannot. The copper is in the wood now, and to chew that wood is to be poisoned by it. A copper-guarded sill will still be standing, sound and solid, long after an untreated one beside it has been turned to soft powder from the inside out. And here, my friends, is where this should start to make you angry. Go to any lumber yard in this country and read the label on the pressure-treated wood, the green wood, the wood they sell you for your deck and your fence and the sill of your own house. Read the small print on the tag. You will find 2 ingredients named there again and again. Copper and boron. They even have a name for the pair of them together, copper-boron azyl. Copper and boron, the exact same 2 cheap metals I have just placed in your hand for $5. So understand plainly what has happened here. The industry knows. They have always known. They build the protection straight into the wood they sell you, the 2 metals, working side by side, exactly the way my grandfather used them. And then they turn around and sell you a separate spray, a recurring contract, a man in a truck every 90 days to fight the very bugs those same 2 metals were already stopping for almost nothing. Because there is no money in a $1 box of borax. There is no money in a roll of copper that outlasts the man who nailed it down. The money is in the bottle that runs dry, the visit that has to be repeated, the quiet fear that keeps you on the schedule year after year. It is not some grand conspiracy with men whispering in a dark room. It is simpler than that, and in a way it is worse. It is only this. No one can build a business on a thing that works once and then lasts forever. So the thing that works was quietly allowed to be forgotten. Not banned. Not burned. Just buried under a louder, costlier promise, until a box of powder your great-grandmother trusted with her life became a thing people are almost embarrassed to admit they still keep under the sink. Now, if you are sitting there thinking that this is all well and good for an old man with a barn and a workshop, but you live in town, in a house you did not build with your own hands, stay with me, because this next part is for you most of all. Here is exactly what to do, and exactly what it costs. For inside the house, the roaches, the ants, the silverfish, the earwigs, you want boric acid, the fine powder, not the coarse crystals. A box runs you $2 or $3. Now hear me, because this is the one mistake nearly everyone makes. Do not pile it up. A bug will walk clean around a little white dune of powder the same way you would walk around a snowbank in the road. You want it nearly invisible, the lightest possible dusting, a haze you can barely see, brushed behind the stove, under the refrigerator, along the back of the cupboards, down into the crack where the counter meets the wall. A puff, not a pour. They cannot step around what they cannot even see. For the ants in particular make a bait, because an ant is looking to carry food home, not dry powder. Mix 1 small part borax into about 3 parts of something sweet, sugar, water, a little jelly, a spoon of honey will do fine. Set it on a bottle cap right where you see them marching. And here is the hard part, the part that goes against everything in you. Do not kill the ones you see. I mean that. Let them drink and let them walk away and let them carry it home, because every single ant that walks away from that cap is carrying your medicine down to 1,000 more you will never have to face yourself. Give it a week. In a week the line is not moved. It is gone. For outside and for the bones of the house itself, the copper. A roll of copper tape or copper wire from the hardware store, a few dollars. 3 inches wide, laid around anything you mean to defend, the door sill, the raised bed, the legs of anything that stands on the bare ground. For posts and sills, a copper-based wood treatment, brushed onto raw wood before it ever goes down into the earth. You are not spraying a thing. You are not renting a thing. You are placing 2 metals where they need to be one time with your own 2 hands, and then you are letting them stand their watch. And there is one rule with the boron, only one, and you must respect it. Keep it dry. Wet powder is dead powder. It must stay dry to keep its teeth. Under the sink, behind the stove, in the dry dark of the wall, that is where it will work quietly for months on end. Anywhere the water can reach it, you simply lay a fresh line down again, and that costs you pennies to do. Now, I told you at the very start that I had saved one thing for the end. Here it is. I went looking for the paper trail, the way I always do, because I do not ask you to take an old man at his word. And I found it. Not one paper, dozens of them. Patents. Filed, granted, sitting in the record with real numbers on them you can look up for yourself tonight. Companies took boric acid, the same dollar powder from under your great-grandmother's sink, mixed it with a little sugar and a little water so the bug would be sure to eat it, and they patented that. They patented the bait. They could not patent the metal itself, you see, because boron has belonged to every man, woman, and child on Earth for 200 years. So instead they patented the spoonful of sugar wrapped around it, and they sold it back to you sealed in a little plastic disc for $10 apiece. Read that again until it sits with you. The thing that actually kills the bug is free, and ancient, and already yours. What they own is the wrapper. And a man can build a very large company indeed on a wrapper, just so long as you never once learn that the powder sealed inside it is the same powder you could buy by the boxful, for the price of a loaf of bread. Now I am going to be honest with you the whole rest of the way I always promise, because this is exactly where the breathless little videos lie to you, and I will not. These 2 metals will not do every single thing. The boron kills what crawls and what grooms itself, your roaches, your ants, your silverfish, your fleas, your earwigs and beetles, the things that walk through the dust and then clean it off themselves. It will not knock a wasp out of the open air. It will not drop a fly off your window pane. Those do not crawl through a dusting on the floor and they do not eat it, and so for those you need a different answer entirely. That is the plain truth, and I will not dress it up. And it is slow. If what you want is every bug dead by breakfast tomorrow, then this is not the tool for you, and you should know that going in. Its whole power lives in being slow enough to be carried home. Give it the weak. Trust the weak. The copper, for its part, is a wall and a guard. It is not a hunter. It will stop a slug cold. It will defend a post for a generation. It will turn a termite away from treated wood. But it will not go chasing the roaches already living behind your stove tonight. That is the boron's work. The two of them are partners, you understand. One holds the line at the wall, the other clears the house from within, and neither one will do the other's job for it. And hear me on this last thing, because it matters more than anything else I have told you. The boron is gentle to you in the air, and it is dangerous to you in the mouth. It is a poison to a child or to a dog that eats it, the very same as it is a poison to the bug. So you place it where they cannot reach, behind, beneath, down inside the wall, and never out on an open floor, never on a counter where food is set down. Used with that one simple piece of sense, it has kept Amish kitchens clean and safe for 100 years. Used carelessly, it is a hazard like any other thing in your house. The old way was never the careless way. So there it is. 2 metals. Boron to clear the house from the inside out, carried home by the very bugs that frightened you. Copper to stand at the wall and never let them back through. $5 and 100 years of proof behind it, and not one more visit from a man in a white truck. This was never lost knowledge, friends. It was working knowledge quietly set aside, not because it ever failed, but because it succeeded too well and too cheaply for anyone to sell it to you twice. You were not given it. Now you have it. If you are the kind of person who believes that real knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect someone else's profit, then you already know what to do. And do this one thing for me. Down in the comments, tell me the bug that has cost you the most, the one in your kitchen, your garden, or your barn, and the most you have ever paid a company to fight it. Just the number. I want to see them all, gathered together in one place where we can look at them honestly. I read every single one. Then subscribe and stay close, because next time I am going to open the other tin on my grandfather's shelf. A single thing, gray and plain and worth almost nothing, that he swore could keep a whole cellar of grain free of every weevil and moth for a year, with no poison in it at all. They stopped putting it on the store shelves back in the... And remember, the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.